Hi everyone, Brea here. Please let me know if you can see me and hear me. There's a chat button right down below the video. You can go there to chat and just let me know if you can see me and hear me. Once I get confirmation of that, we will get started. There is a little bit of a lag between when I say things and when you hear them. So, okay, awesome. You guys can see and hear me. Perfect. Okay, let me know in the chat which exam you're planning to take and when you're planning to take it. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you were able to make it today. Let me know in the chat area which exam you're taking and when you're planning to take it. So right below this video, there's a button you can press that says chat, and that's how we can talk to each other. Okay, so AM is taking IFM in March. Perfect. So that means you must be done probably Exampie and FM already. Deepak's taking CM1 in April. Okay, so that's not an SOA exam. I believe that is it's some other society. So yeah, sorry, just one second. Yeah, I believe that's not, or that isn't an SOA exam, CM1, but yeah, IFOA exam. Okay, Leah is planning to take exam FM in August. Awesome. Glad you're starting early. Okay, we're just going to wait a few more minutes here before we get going. I want to make sure everyone has a chance to log in. Okay, so if you haven't already heard, right down below the video, there's a button you can click on that says chat. You can go there to be able to see what everyone else is saying and to chat with me in the chat area. Okay. And just let me know what exam you're taking next and when you plan on taking it. Okay. Okay, so I want to try to keep this to about an hour and 15 minutes, hopefully not much longer than that. There'll be lots of time for questions, so if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask those at any time. Below the video, there's also a Q&A button that you can click on, and that's where you can go to ask any questions you have along the way. That's where I will be primarily looking for questions, is in the Q&A section. So you'll have to put your questions there to make sure that I can see them. I won't necessarily be looking for questions in the chat area. Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Brea. If you don't already know me, I'm Brea. I have a study strategy program where I help people pass Exampie and FM. So a lot of what I've learned from running that for about the past 2.5 to 3 years is where I've learned all this information about how to pass actuarial exams. That along with actually passing them myself. So currently I'm an associate of the Society of Actuaries, which means I'm an ASA. It also means that I've passed Exampie and FM along with several other exams that you have to pass in order to become an ASA. Back in 2013-ish, I started at the University of Waterloo, I graduated from the University of Waterloo with an actuarial science degree. And while I was in that program, I did several actuarial internships and graduated, got a full-time job in a life insurance company. I'm in Canada, so I got a life insurance job pretty close to me in Waterloo, in Canada. So I worked there for about 4 years, and that was in life insurance. I did some valuation work and some pricing work. So that's where most of my experience comes from. And then about 2 years ago, 2 years ago now. Yeah, 2 years ago now, I decided to quit my full-time actuarial job and start focusing entirely on helping people like you pass their exams and get their first full-time actuarial job or an internship. So that is a little bit about me in case you maybe don't already know much about me. A lot of people have watched my YouTube videos, read my blog posts. A lot of people get regular emails from me with study tips. So you can go and do all that after the training if you haven't already watched and read those things. And if you're not on my study tip emails, if you're not getting those, definitely go sign up for those. At the very end, I'll let you know how you can do that if you'd like to. Okay. Sorry. So we are here today because actuarial exams are very difficult. So if you don't already know this, only about 50% of people pass their actuarial exam each month. So there are exams every month. Exampie, I'm mostly going to be talking about the first two, Exampie and FM. Those are the ones that most people that are attending my trainings, those are the ones they're writing. So those are the ones I tend to talk about the most. They're the ones I help people pass. So Exampie and FM are offered every other month. So Exampie is offered in January, March, May, etc. And Exam FM is offered in February, April, June, etc. And each month, only about 50% of people that are taking those exams are actually passing them. And that includes people that are taking it for their second or third or fourth time too. So the chances of passing on your very first attempt at these exams is generally pretty low. Actuarial exams, they take months to prepare for. So for anyone that isn't able to spend all day studying, there's very few people that can just dedicate a whole day to studying. It's really difficult to fit in enough study time. And I know that's why you guys are here. You want to know how to fit in more study time, how to manage your time. So that's what we're going to be talking about. But I found that in general, members of the study strategy program, which is the program that I use to help people pass Exampie and FM, they need to spend about 3 hours or so a day studying for about 3.5 months in order to be fully prepared for their exam. So for a lot of you that have other things going on, maybe you have work, school, family, and other commitments, it can be really difficult to try to find 3 hours to fit into a day, and you just wonder how people can possibly do that. So I am going to be explaining all that to you today so that you can do the exact same thing. These are all techniques that I use for members of the study strategy program, and I very rarely get complaints or anything that people aren't able to fit in enough study time. And if they still can't after applying these techniques that we talk about, well, then there are different things we can do. But these 3 things really help mitigate the impact that, mitigate your issues with time management. Okay, so if you stick around to the end, you're going to learn the top 3 time management mistakes that people make when they're studying for their exam, and you're going to learn what you can do to avoid them. I'm also going to be giving you some free templates that we'll be talking about today. You can get those free templates at the very end of this training, but you'll have to stay till the end, and then I'll show you how to get those. Those will help you implement everything that we're going to talk about today. And I will probably forget to give those to you, so make sure once we're wrapping up and getting close to the end that you remind me to give those to you, because I often do forget to give out those free things at the end. Okay. And just a few notes before we really get into things. You've probably seen me looking at my computer over here a little bit. I do have notes over here because I don't want to forget to tell you anything. So I've written down a few things over here, so I will be looking back and forth. Questions. If you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A section only. That's where I'll be looking for them. Right down below the video. is where you'll see a button. It says Q&A, and that's where you can type your questions in. It's fine to put questions in there anytime throughout the whole training. I'll get to them as often as I can, but please try to keep them related to what we are talking about. At the very end, I'll tell you where you can go to get more help with studying for your exam. All right, so does that sound good? Let me know in the chat, say I'm ready if you are ready to get started. Ready, okay, awesome. Sheldon's ready, Leah's ready, AM is ready. Okay, awesome. I already see some questions coming in too, which is great. I will get to those. Okay, so let's talk about first one of the common mistakes that people make in terms of time management. And this mistake is planning to study just whenever you can, planning to study whenever you get to it. So when I was studying for my first actuarial exam, I was doing so many things. I was working full-time hours as a babysitter and a housekeeper. I was babysitting all the time. So I was also taking some courses in school. I was playing soccer all the time too. Soccer is one of my favorite sports. I play it now all the time, and I played it then all the time. I had a boyfriend that I wanted to spend time with, and I wanted to work out and eat healthy. So I just had so much stuff going on all the time. Studying for my actuarial exam was always on my to-do list, but a lot of the time I had so many other commitments that I didn't really fit it in. My plan was just to fit studying in when I had time, and time never came really. So that is a huge mistake that I know not only I make, but tons of other people make that are studying for their actuarial exams too. So I'd tell myself that maybe I'd study later that night, but by the time I got home after work and after I did my homework and stuff like that, I just felt too exhausted. So I'd put studying off, and then maybe I'd tell myself that I was going to study on the weekend. And by the time the weekend came, I got a little bit of studying done, but not near as much as I needed to in order to be well prepared for the exam. So let me know in the chat, can you relate to this? Are you feeling the same way I was? Like, are you constantly saying that you'll fit studying in, but then it doesn't get fit in, or you're just not getting enough time in? And let me know, what are some of the things that are getting in the way of your study time? This is such a huge problem for so many people, and I'm so glad you guys are able to attend this training so that you can get the help you need and this isn't a problem for you. Yes, okay, so AM says here's exactly what I was talking about too. You say that you're going to study, you plan on it, you really want to get to it, but it just doesn't work out. Jam says some of the things that get in the way are the internship, the college courses, and the homework. See, I know all of you are so busy. Leah has classes, the gym, a boyfriend. There's just so many things competing for our time that it's hard to force yourself to get your studying done, and it's just hard to find the time to even get it done. Okay, great. Okay, so what do you need to do if this is the problem that you're having? Okay, well, there are 168 hours in a week. 168. Everyone has those same amount of hours. We can't add more. We wouldn't want to take away any, but we can't add more. So we have to work with what we've got. We have 168 hours. So what you need to do at the end of this training, or maybe it's at the beginning of every week, or at some point, you need to sit down for 15 minutes and you just need to figure out exactly when you're going to fit in your study hours each day throughout the week. It can be difficult to actually sit down and do this, but if you're really serious about passing your exam, you need to make a commitment to doing this. So like I said, for most members of the study strategy program, it takes about 3 or so hours to be able to be fully prepared for an exam in about 3.5 to 4 months. So that means that for you, you could do the same thing. About 3 to 4 hours of studying per day should be enough to help you get fully prepared for, let's say, an exam in June, or maybe June or July. So you'll have to sit down and figure out where exactly those 3 to 4 hours of studying are going to fit in every single day. At the very end, I'm going to be giving you a template that will help you do this, but you need to take into consideration your sleep time, your eating time, any commute time that you have, when you're working, your class time, your family time, your church time, any workout times. Everything you do in a week needs to be put into a calendar so that you can figure out exactly when you can get those study hours in. Because if you're like me and you constantly say you'll get to it when it fits in, it usually doesn't fit in. And that's because you haven't figured out when it's going to fit in. But if you want to pass exams, you have to dedicate the time and you have to actually fit it in. So by planning all this out, planning your 168 hours in a week, planning exactly how you're going to use those hours, it'll really help make sure that you first do have enough study hours built into your weekly schedule, and that you know exactly when those study hours are going to be. So like I said, I will be giving you a template at the very end that will help you just organize your time a bit more and figure out where you can fit those study hours in amongst everything else you have going on. Okay, so think of this for a second. I just want you to really understand how important this is and why it does help, because if you think about it for a second, when you have a dentist appointment, when you find out you need to make a dentist appointment, you probably you call the receptionist, work with the receptionist to figure out what time works with your schedule. When you finally find an appointment that will work for you, you probably get your phone out, you put that right into your daily schedule thing, like your little calendar. There's a time commitment that you said you're going to be there, and you don't schedule anything else during that time. It's a free time for you, where you initially put that appointment. You had free time, but now it's filled with a dentist appointment, and you're going to go to that appointment. You're not going to schedule anything else in that time. You commit to it. So that's the same kind of thing you need to do for your exams. You need to schedule this just like an appointment. You need to make sure that once you schedule it, nothing else takes over. It's very similar to a class at school. You know when the class is and you want to be there, so you don't let anything else be scheduled within the time that the class is. So if it's from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, for example, you have that logged into your schedule. It's time that you can't use for anything else. You know you're going to be in class, and you go to that class every time because it's scheduled. So you've made the time for it. And it's so important to do the exact same thing for studying for actuarial exams. So you need to treat it like a class, or treat it like a dentist appointment. It needs to be scheduled and you need to commit to it. So otherwise you're just not making it the priority that it needs to be. And I know, since all of you are here right now, studying is a priority and you want to get these exams passed, you want to be able to fit in enough time. I know it's a priority for you. So make sure you schedule it and commit to it. Okay, so I'm going to take some questions on this now. Let me see what there is. So if you have any questions about this topic, just use the Q&A button below the video, and that is where I will be looking for questions. Try to keep them related to the topic we're talking about. If they're unrelated, I'll try to answer them at the end if there's time. Okay. Here's one. So Little asks, even if I review, again, I forget, how many times a week should I review? I've been studying since September, still I forget what I study. So for you have to figure out how much review time you need. Maybe it's best for you if you do a quick 15-minute review session before each study session, and that just helps remind you of everything you learned over the past few days. Something like that can be really helpful. And maybe just going through some notes. So maybe you have a 1 or 2 page piece of paper that has all the most important notes on it, and before every single study session, you just quickly go through that, and then you're kind of caught up on all the really important things. The number of review sessions that you need really depends on you. If you are having trouble with this, then probably it would be good for you to do a review session every single day. It doesn't have to be long, but it would be good to constantly be reviewing every single day. But if you're someone that maybe is more familiar with the concepts and doesn't need as much review, maybe you don't even need a review session, or maybe just once a week would be fine. So that's what I recommend for that. Okay, here's another quick one I'll answer. So Jam says, how long does it take to study for exam FM after taking the class, but due to lack of practice, failed once? Is April enough to start doing sample questions now? So what I usually don't really focus on the number of hours that someone spends preparing for the exam. What is more important is how well prepared you are and what level you're performing at. So if you are finding that you're scoring pretty well on practice exams right now and you're getting most of your practice questions right, then you'd probably be okay for April. But if you are still scoring maybe 30% or something on practice exams, or maybe you're still having a lot of trouble with a lot of the questions, then April might not be enough time. So the number of hours that you spend studying really isn't a good judgment of how well prepared you are. You have to focus more on how you're performing. Okay, so let's keep moving on. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the number 2 mistake that is very common to make in terms of time management. So the main mistake is that people study at an unknown pace. And let me explain that a little bit. So when I was studying for my very first exam, I was planning to take it in July, not this coming July or anything. It was many years ago now, but I was planning to take it in the month of July. I think I started studying for it around March or April, somewhere in there. And I just studied at my own pace. Like I said before, I kind of fit studying in when I could fit it in. I only fit study time in when I was able to. And when I did get study time in, I just did however much studying I was able to. I didn't have a goal to achieve. I had no clue whether I was doing enough studying each day. I kind of just hoped that by the time July came around, I would be well prepared enough. So I hadn't really established a pace for myself that I needed to work at. I didn't know how much I needed to be getting done each day so that by the time July came around, I would be prepared. And that was a big problem for me. So let me know in the chat if you are confident that you're spending enough time studying every single day. If it's completely fine if you're not. If you're 100% sure or very confident that you are spending enough time studying each day, put yes. And if you're just not really sure, and that's okay, just put no. I ran into this problem too, and it's something that we can overcome. It's just that most people don't think about it when they're preparing for an actuarial exam for the first time. It's really hard to know what pace you need to go at in order to be fully prepared by the time exam day comes around. Okay, so I've got 3 no's here and a yes. Okay, great, Deepak. I'm really glad that you know that. For the others, I completely understand why this is a problem for you. You go into the exam and you don't really know what you need to be doing every single day. You don't know how much you need to be getting done, and that's okay. I was expecting a lot of no's there because this is a trap that a lot of people fall into, including myself. Okay, for me, this happened because I didn't make a plan ahead of time so that I knew exactly what I needed to get done each day. I kind of just hoped, like I said, that by the time exam day came around, I would be fully prepared. I just hoped that I had done enough studying, but that did not happen. I specifically remember spending the very last week before my exam cramming as much as I could into my head because I hadn't spent enough time in the months leading up to the exam studying. I just hadn't spent enough time. So I ended up cramming in the last week as much as I could. I remember doing lots of practice exams and doing really poorly on them and getting frustrated and getting disappointed. And I pretty much knew I probably wasn't going to pass. And I was right in the end. I failed that exam. So it's a mistake that everyone makes, but there are things that you can do about it. And what you need to do is you make sure that you establish a pace for yourself. You need to create a plan so that you know exactly what you need to be doing every single day of the week, from now until whenever your exam is planned for. You need to create a schedule of exactly what you're going to do each and every day. And once you do that, you can be feel confident that you are going to be prepared for the exam if you follow this plan that you've created. So it doesn't matter where you are right now or what kind of studying you've done so far, you can still do this. Just take wherever you're at right now and wherever you need, whenever your exam day is, and fill in all the time in there with the exact tasks that you need to do so that you're fully prepared by exam day. And this can be a bit of a time-consuming task. It might take you 30 minutes. And that's okay because it's going to be very worth it in the end. You'll just be so thankful that you've been able to establish a pace for yourself, and you'll know what you need to be doing and how much studying you need to be doing every single day between now and the time exam day comes around. What makes pacing yourself and establishing a pace for yourself even better is that it actually increases your efficiency at studying. So this is something that I didn't expect at first, but it's something that I've experienced with members of the study strategy program. So when you combine what we talked about earlier, which is setting a specific time for yourself to get studying done, so maybe that 3-hour chunk that you're trying to fit in each day, when you combine that with a specific task that you need to get done in the day or in that day, you'll find that you're studying so much more efficiently because you have a goal to complete and a time limit to do it in. So whenever you have those two things, you're going to find yourself so much more focused and motivated to just get that task done in that amount of study time that you have. So for example, it works for everything in your life. Like for this particular training that I'm giving you today, we had to delay from Thursday, right? Because I was feeling sick and I wasn't even feeling better until this morning. So I was like, okay, well, I've got to do a presentation today. I had 2 hours to get it done for you guys. And within that 2 hours, I worked like crazy. I got everything done that I needed to so that I could present it to you today at 4. So those 2 hours, knowing that I only had 2 hours to get a huge task done, made me really focused, and I got it done. If I had done this when I had maybe a whole day to figure it out, I would have been checking my emails or checking my texts or maybe doing some cleaning or something like that, things that aren't necessary but kind of aren't focusing on what I need to. They'd be distracting me. But since I had a time limit and a task, I worked really hard to get it done, and I was so focused. So when you start implementing these tactics into your own studying, you're going to find that since you have a specific task and you have a time limit for yourself, your studying is going to be much more efficient. There are some other examples that we can look at too. let's look back to when you were in school, or maybe you're still in school right now. So at the beginning, your professor probably handed you a big long syllabus of everything that you were going to learn throughout the term. It was probably pretty long, intimidating, and might have been a bit overwhelming for you. But what you may have not realized is that your professor throughout the entire term was actually establishing a pace for you. Your professor knew exactly how much you needed to get done. He knew how much, he or she knew how much he needed to teach you every single day, so that by the time you guys got to the end of the semester and to your final exam, you had learned everything on that syllabus. Otherwise, you would have just taken things at some slow pace, just la-di-da around, and you might have ended up not being fully prepared enough, or you might have not had all the information that you needed for the final exam by the time the end of all the courses were there. So hopefully you get what I'm saying there. I didn't do the best job of explaining it, but really your professor set a pace for you. He knew how much you needed to get done every day, so that by the time all your classes were done for the semester, you had all the information that you needed for the exam. So that's one example of how this works in other situations outside of studying for an exam. But as another example of it, in the study strategy program where I help people pass Exampie and FM, I advise them on how to pass their exam, but I don't just give them, I don't just let them do whatever they want. I actually set a pace for them. I create a personalized study plan that will allow them to start from wherever they're at right now to being prepared by exam day. So I've worked with so many people throughout the past 2 to 3 years that I know what people need to be doing at each stage. I know how much they need to do each and every day in order to get to a really good place by the time exam day comes around. So, so if you haven't been able to establish a pace, there's no way to know whether you're behind on studying or not. And it's really important that you know whether you're behind, because then you need to catch up and get back on pace so that you will be at a good place by the time exam day comes around. And members of the study strategy program tell me all the time how much they appreciate having their schedule just laid out and organized for them. Actually, Callie is a member of the study strategy program right now, and she said she loves how she can easily just visualize what she needs to accomplish each and every day. So having a pace and just organization around your studying really helps to make you more efficient in your studying and get more done. Okay, so do you have any questions about that? Please put them in the Q&A section. Okay, and just while I wait for questions, if any of you are interested in joining the study strategy program, I'm actually offering a special discount for you guys today. I will put a link in the chat. It's a 4-month option where you can get it for just $2.99. There's only going to be 10 spots available at that price. I will be talking a bit more about it later, so don't worry. Just putting that there if you're interested and want to check that out. But yeah, you'd save over $40 by joining today. Okay, questions? Okay, so Leah asks, to set an efficient pace, how many problems do you recommend should be solved each hour? So I generally recommend throughout your studying to do 1,000 practice questions if you can. 700 is the low end, up to 1,000 is awesome. So it really depends on how many hours you're going to be able to study, and just try to figure out how you're going to fit in all those questions within the amount of time that you have available. So if you have 3 hours per day to study, you'll want to, and those practice questions that I talked about include doing practice exams. So if you want to fit in, let's say, 700 practice questions throughout your studying, you could divide 700 questions, divide it by however many days you have to study, and that would give you how many questions you have to do per day. And then if maybe you have to do 30 questions per day and you have 3 hours to study, then that would mean that you have to do about 10 questions per day, for example. So it's really going to be dependent on you, your schedule, how much time you have, how many questions you want to be able to do, and all that. But you basically just have to break it down, something like that. Okay, so here's another one. So AM asks, when you say list exact tasks that you are going to do you mean like Monday, cover section 5.1? Yes, that's exactly what I mean. So as an example, members of the study strategy program, they get their whole schedule laid out for them. So I break down all the sections in their study material. I tell them exactly which sections they have to go through each day. So that's exactly what you can be doing too. Go through your study material and break down exactly what you're going to be doing and have to cover each and every day. And okay, I'll take one more here as a follow-up. How long before the exam date do you recommend being done with material? For members of the study strategy program, I usually try to get them all through the study material by about at the latest 8 weeks before the beginning of the exam window. So that gives you lots of time to fully prepare and do all the extra stuff that you need to do to hopefully be well prepared by the time exam day comes around. Okay. Let's keep moving here. I will take more questions at the end, and I have a spot we can stop for some questions before then too. Okay, so we have already talked about mistake number 1 being that you just plan on studying whenever you can. Mistake number 2 is that you study at an unknown pace. You don't really have that established. And now mistake number 3 is that you don't stick to a study schedule. And I'm guilty of this one too. There are some people that do end up creating study schedules for their exams, so they kind of have a general idea of what they should be doing. I wasn't one of those people, so I can't really use myself as an example, but there are some people that create some kind of study schedule. But actually, creating the schedule is the easy part. Anyone can create a study schedule. The hardest part is actually sticking to the schedule. And that's where so many people end up running into problems. So in the chat, let me know if you've been having trouble sticking to a schedule. And if you want to, if you'd like to, let me know how far behind on your study schedule you actually are right now. It's okay. There aren't very many of us here. You can admit this. And it's a problem that happens for so many people. I didn't even have a study schedule when I was studying, and I know now that I definitely should have, but it happens. Okay, so AM says she is a month behind on studying. I totally understand that. Okay, Leah hasn't made a study schedule yet. See, it's a combination. Some of you have even gone ahead and made the study schedule for yourself, but you're still finding it hard to stick to that schedule. Others of you haven't even created the study schedule, and that's just one of the other mistakes that I see people make, is that you don't establish that pace and create that schedule for yourself. So I hope you're both learning from this, no matter what your situation is. Okay, so falling behind on your study schedule happens because you don't have accountability in your studying or your study strategy. So you're basically, when you don't have accountability, you're relying on yourself to get studying done, even when it doesn't feel that urgent. Right now, your exam, I don't think anyone was writing their exam in February. All of you are writing in quite a few months. So right now, the exam doesn't feel all that urgent. There's nothing pushing you to say that you have to get your studying done. And having that urgency is what forces you to get things done. So think about when you have an exam coming up, or even for your actuarial exam. If your exam was maybe at the end of next week, you'd probably be studying pretty hard right now, and there would be no excuses for not spending your study time wisely. But right now, it's kind of far away. You still have a few months, so it doesn't really feel that urgent. So without urgency, you need something else to help push you and motivate you to stay consistent and keep up with your studying. And that thing that you need is accountability. So accountability basically means having someone there that is expecting you to have certain tasks done by a certain date. And accountability will add urgency into your studying, even when your exam date is still far away in the future, several months away, or even weeks away. So what do you need to do? You need to find someone to hold you accountable to your study schedule. Okay, so this is very, very important. I'm going to say it again. You need to find someone to keep you accountable to your study schedule. And once you do this, you're kind of like 100% committing to your exam. You're doing everything that you can to give yourself the best chance of passing, because you're no longer allowing yourself to like procrastinate. You're actually making it really hard for yourself to procrastinate. Someone's actually going to be there expecting you to have things done. So you're no longer giving yourself a way out of studying when you don't feel like you really want to, or when you don't feel like you need to, or you feel like there's other things that you'd rather be doing. Accountability and adding that into your study strategy will make a world of difference, and it's really the final block a lot of people need to commit to this exam and make it a high priority in their life. So after I say that, you might wonder, how do you actually find accountability though? So there's many ways you can get it. A family member or a friend might be a good option. Sometimes they're not as interested in the exam as you are though, so it doesn't usually work out as well. A really good option is maybe someone else that is taking the exam at the exact same time as you. So then you have each other to kind of hold you accountable to getting those tasks done. Or another option is to join the study strategy program. So in the program, my team and I do 2 weekly accountability check-ins. So we'll actually go right into the schedule that I talked about earlier, where I set up exactly what you need to do each day. We go into your personal schedule and we see and make sure that you're on track with your studying. So those accountability check-ins really help motivate the members to stay on top of their studying, stay consistent every single day. So it's important that whoever you choose to be your accountability partner is going to be reliable. Like I said, family members and friends, they're not always the most reliable because they're not thinking about this all the time. But you want someone that's going to take this really seriously, because if they slack and don't keep up this accountability, then you're going to start slacking on your studying too, and then it's just not going to work. So you need someone that is going to take this accountability job seriously. Okay, so let's talk about a few examples now. So you can think about how well accountability has already worked for you in your life up to now. So if you think about your job, your manager actually kind of acted as an accountability partner for you. he or she asks you to do something by a certain date, and you will get it done by the date that they've asked you for. So your manager was expecting a certain task to be done by a certain date, and you'll get it done by that date. Because the accountability makes it urgent for you. In school, your teacher was your accountability partner. Your teacher gave you assignments that you had to have done on a certain date. If you didn't have that assignment done, you were probably going to get a 0 on that assignment, and there's no coming back from that. You can't hand it in late. You're just going to get a 0. If you play sports, your team was kind of your accountability partner. They're expecting you to be at a certain place on a certain date and play the game. And if you're not there, then you're going to really let them down. So they held you accountable. So all over your life right now, there are examples of people that are holding you accountable. And it's very likely that you're actually showing up for those people and doing what you need to get done. So it could be your job, it's school, it's your teams, anything like that. Another example of this is Divya. She's a member of the study strategy program. Actually, a while ago now, probably 6 months to a year, I'd say, she decided to join the study strategy program for her 4th attempt at Exampie. And whenever someone joins the study strategy program, I always ask them, like, why did you join? What made you want to be a part of the study strategy program? Most people, like 50% of people, actually say that accountability is the reason that they want to, like, one of the reasons that they join the study strategy program. They want those check-ins to help keep them focused and motivated and consistent with their studying. And Divya was just one of those people too. She said, during my last attempts at the exam, she just wasn't disciplined enough to do all the practice that she needed to. So it's really hard to self-discipline yourself, stay on top of things, especially when you're busy. You've got your work or your school and your sports teams and your family, your boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever you've got going on in your life. It's so difficult to keep on top of studying when your exam is so far away, but you need to make sure that you're staying consistent every day, not just cramming at the very end. So Divya's busy just like everyone else, but for her 4th attempt at the exam while she was in the study strategy program, she followed her calendar diligently. The check-ins helped keep her accountable. She didn't fall behind schedule. She was always on task. And that helped her to pass her exam. Her 4th attempt, she had tried 3 times on her own and just wasn't able to be disciplined enough. But on the 4th time, she joined the program. She got the accountability that she needed, and she passed her exam. So she was consistent, and it paid off. And you may have also heard about Bobby, another member of the study strategy program. He actually did a video not long ago on his YouTube channel about how he passed Exampie. He was a member of the study strategy program for Exampie, but once he passed Exampie, he kind of had the foundation. So the study strategy program, it teaches you the foundations and everything you kind of need to do in order to fully prepare for an exam. So you can take everything you've learned and you can apply it to your future exams. Well, that's exactly what Bobby was going to go ahead and do. He passed Exampie in the program, and he was going to apply those same concepts for Exam FM. But what he found was, after a few months of studying by himself, trying to do it alone, he was just being lazy. He wasn't feeling as motivated and committed. He was falling behind on his studying, and without the accountability check-ins that he was accustomed to for Exampie, he was kind of just letting studying go on the back burner. So for him, he decided to join the study strategy program again for Exam FM, just for that accountability, because he really works well when someone else is holding him accountable to the tasks that he needs to get done. Okay, so accountability is something that's so important to add into your study schedule or your study strategy. So really make an effort to figure out how you're going to add that into your study schedule strategy. Okay, I'll take a few more questions now on that topic. Just need a quick drink here. Okay, so Jam says, I used to think that not studying seriously was because I'm unmotivated. Never thought about accountability. So yeah, like studying for these exams, it's not because you're not unmotivated. I know that all of you here are really motivated to pass your exam. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Like, you guys are very serious about passing. That's not the reason. It's just for everyone, you struggle with fitting that in. Like, there are other things that you probably want to be doing some of the time that you can't, because you got to study. And passing exams, it's a goal of yours, so you want to make that a commitment. But for everyone, it's hard to stay on track when you've got so many other things competing for your time. But for sure, adding accountability into your study strategy will make a huge difference. Just having someone there checking in and making sure you're actually doing the work and staying consistent, it will help a lot. Okay. Okay, I don't see any other questions related to what I just talked about. Oh, here's a quick one. Leah asked, does it matter if the 3 hours per day are done in one session or split up throughout the day? So it's perfectly fine to do your studying in sessions split up throughout the day. The only time when it becomes important to do at least 3 hours at one time is when you get closer to your exam and you're starting to do practice exams. If possible, it's best to do those 3 hour exams in exactly 3 hours rather than splitting it up into maybe 2 chunks of 1.5 hours, because it's a lot harder to stay focused and motivated and just keep going on a 3 hour exam than it is when you just divide it into maybe 2 chunks. So generally, it's fine to study in chunks that are less than 3 hours, but once you get to start doing practice exams, then you're going to want to try to do as many of those in exam conditions, which means going 3 hours straight. How long from the exam date should you start doing timed practice exams? So I would suggest at least a month. It's going to be different for everyone though. Generally for the study strategy program members, I start implementing in timed practice exams very early on, maybe a couple weeks after they've just gone through all the study material. Now, a lot of the time they don't do extremely well on those first few practice tests, but it helps just get them used to studying for so long. It gets them used to timing themselves and just more familiarity with how quickly you actually need to answer these questions, and it allows them to practice that early on so that by the time we actually start taking the practice exams really seriously, then they're more accustomed to doing them and they know what to expect. They got rid of their nerves a little bit and stuff like that. So that's what I've experienced, and that's what I do with study strategy program members, but it's really going to be different for every single person. Okay, let's keep going here. Any of these other questions that are remaining, I'll try to answer at the end. I don't think any of them are related to specifically what we're talking about, but I will answer them at the end. Okay, so let's recap a little bit here. So we talked at the very beginning, mistake number 1 was that they plan on studying people plan on studying just whenever they can. So what you need to do is you actually need to schedule your study time in each and every day. You need to make a plan of how you're going to fit it in every single day amongst everything else you have going on. Mistake number 2 is that you study at an unknown pace. You really have no idea how much you need to be doing every single day, and that means you don't know whether you'll be prepared by exam day or not. So you need to create a schedule that tells you exactly what you're going to be doing every single day. Third mistake is that you don't stick to that study schedule after you create it. So you need accountability to overcome that mistake. And accountability is so important when you're studying for your exam. So once you do these 3 things, time management is not going to really be a concern for you. You're going to know exactly what you need to get done every single day. You're going to know exactly when you're going to get that studying done every single day. And you're going to have accountability that will actually give you a reason to get it done every single day so that you don't put it off, you don't procrastinate a little bit. So those 3 things are really going to make time management not an issue for you once you do the few steps that we've talked about here. And really what we talked about today, it doesn't take long to implement, but it'll make a world of difference in your studying. Okay, so I said that I'd show you a bit more about the study strategy program, how it works, what you'll get. So I'm going to do that right now. Then I will be sending you those free templates that I told you you'd get to help plan your study time and everything like that. I'll answer the rest of those questions that you guys had, and then you will be on the way for the rest of your Saturday. Okay, so does that sound good? Let me know in the chat if you're ready to start that. Okay. Ready. Yes. Okay, you guys are ready. Okay, so the study strategy program is basically you getting all access to everything that I know about actuarial exams. I do create a personalized study strategy for you so that you know exactly what you need to do. You have all tons of different resources to use. You get just so much more. I'm going to show you it all. But it's really what I wish was available when I was studying for my exam. It helped me not overcome all these time management issues. It helps people overcome these time management issues, but also a lot of people just don't know how to fully prepare for an actuarial exam. So on top of getting rid of all the time management issues, the study strategy program gives you the support and guidance so that you actually know what you need to be doing to pass these exams, even though they're so hard. So I'm actually going to show you inside. I'm going to share my screen with you and show you a bit about what you'll actually get in the study strategy program. So right now you should be able to see my screen. Okay, so like I said, everyone is going to get their very own personalized study schedule and strategy, basically. So it'll look something like this. This is actually someone's schedule that's in the study strategy program, but I've removed all of the personal information just for privacy reasons. So it looks something like this. I deliver this to you on the day you decide to start studying. There's a bunch of information here, a whole bunch of links that you get access to. A lot of these are free resources and stuff like that, but I've organized them all here for you, and we use them in your studying. This hourly schedule, I'm actually going to be giving you in the templates that I give later. This is to help you organize your time so you can figure out exactly when you're going to fit in studying each day, so you have all 168 hours of your week in here, and you can use this to figure out when you're going to fit in your studying. So you can also, it's helpful if you also schedule in your other things, like when you sleep, when you're working. You can use these other colors for different things. But right here, I've just kind of shown where this person is spending their study time each day. So blue is for studying. One of the biggest benefits is getting this personalized study schedule for yourself. So like we talked about before, it's really important that you know exactly what you need to do every single day so that you establish a pace. And so you know by the time exam day comes around that you'll actually be fairly well prepared. And that's of course what you want, because if you're just going on studying what you can each day, you really have no idea whether you'll be prepared by exam day or not. So when you join the study strategy program, you get this. You'll be able to mark down right under each task. You can mark it as completed, and you get a break day. And then if, for example, on this Monday, you're not able to complete that task, so you have to complete it the next day, you can just let my team and I know that you're going to be completing it on Tuesday, for example. And this is the exact calendar that we'll be looking at when we do the accountability check-ins. So we'll know how you're progressing based on what you've marked as complete. So for example, if we're all the way down here right now on the 20th, for example, and my team and I go into your schedule and see that you've only completed up to the 12th, you're definitely going to hear about us. You'd hear from us long before that, because that's over a week behind schedule. But just as an example for you guys, we are checking in to make sure that you're on top of your studying, so accountability is built right into here. As you'll see on Mondays and Thursdays, those are colored orange. That's because those are our accountability check-in days. So those are the days that my team and I go and make sure that you are on track with your studying. Just remember how important accountability is to keep you on top of your studying. It's kind of like the magic holding this all together, because you know when you're going to study, you know what you've got to do to study, and then you really need that accountability to make sure it actually happens. Okay, so you'll get your own plan full of everything you need to do for the exam. And you'll notice down here, you actually do some question blocks. So I want to explain those really quickly. So question blocks are part of this tracking tab. There are 30 question blocks here that I'll have you go through when you're in the study strategy program. Question blocks are basically just sets of practice problems, 15 practice problems. So I've assigned exactly what questions you should do when you do question block 1. And so once you do this practice question, you can just go here, you can mark whether you get it right or wrong, or maybe you get this one right. And you'll see on this question block, this person is supposed to aim for 50% of the questions right. So we go through here, let's just say they marked them all down, and they got 67%. That's awesome, that's a really good score. It's higher than 50, so that's great. But if they got all these wrong, that would be a score of 33%. So whenever my team and I do the check-ins, we actually also pay really close attention to how you're doing on the assigned tasks. So for example, these question blocks, we'll look at your scores, see how you're doing, and if changes need to be made to your daily goals calendar, we will make them. So this daily goals calendar is not set in stone. We actually make a lot of adjustments to it throughout your study period to make sure that you're always focusing on the tasks that are most beneficial to you. And we determine that based on how you're performing on different tasks that we assign throughout your study period. Okay, so there's lots of things like that in the study strategy program. I'm also going to quickly show you the other resources that you'll get. So when you join the program, you'll first come to a page like this that gives you a short video to watch. You'll fill out a questionnaire, and that questionnaire will tell me all the information I need from you in order to create a personalized study strategy for you. And then once you get it, you'll be assigned to watch some different study strategy videos, which are all here. There's 5 right now. And then there's also a studying advice area that you can go to. a lot of the time you run into different issues. For example, maybe you're feeling burnt out from studying. So if that's a problem for you, you could just come to the studying advice section. You could read through that and see what I have to say about that issue. A lot of people experience those kind of things. Or maybe you're having problems figuring out how to start practice problems, or you're getting a lot of questions wrong and you don't know what to do. So there's tons of advice in the studying advice section that you can use while you're a member. There's also a Q&A forum where you can go to get all the help you need on math-related questions. So you can ask questions no matter what study materials you're using, TIA, ASM, ACTEX, Coaching Actuaries, doesn't matter. We answer questions from any resource. And right now, there are over 1,400 questions that have already been asked. So probably a question that, if you have a question, it's probably already asked in here, but if it's not, you can go ahead and post a new question and we get back to you within about 24 hours at the latest. Usually it takes less than that. Okay, so now I quickly just want to go through just overview of everything here for you so that you know exactly what you're getting. Yes, go. Okay, so in a 4-month study strategy program bundle, you're going to get your personalized study schedule. You're going to get access immediately to the Q&A forums where you can ask questions about any related math problems you have or questions you have. You're going to get my personalized guidance, advice, and check-ins. So you like studying for an actuarial exam, I've learned so much by helping members in the study strategy program. I've been doing that for almost 3 years now, so I've helped so many people overcome so many different issues. I passed these exams myself. I also had, I graduated with an actuarial science degree, so I went to school for actuarial science. I had internships, I had a full-time job, so I have so much knowledge that I'm happy to share with you. The study strategy program is to pass your exam, but really I want to be your mentor on this journey to becoming an actuary. So if you have questions about anything at all related to the actuarial world, getting jobs, passing exams, just any questions you have, I'm here to answer those for you. You're kind of just downloading all the knowledge that I have into your head when you need it. So you can email my team and I anytime for advice and guidance. Also, you get those check-ins that we talked about for accountability. There's also a WhatsApp group, which I haven't mentioned yet. So right now there are over 100, and actually there's getting close to 200 people in the study strategy program in the study strategy program taking Exampie and FM, and all of them have access to this WhatsApp group. So it's an amazing resource, just full of motivation, full of support, tons of other people that are at the exact same stage as you are. So that's a really beneficial resource to have that you get access to when you join the study strategy program. And there's also the $225 pass guarantee. So this isn't something that anyone else offers. Most of the time, a pass guarantee just means that you get access to the study material again or something like that. But my pass guarantee is that if you are not successful in passing your exam while you're a member of the study strategy program, then I will pay your next $225 exam registration fee. So for those of you that may not know, the Society of Actuaries actually charges a $225 fee every time you want to take an exam. It doesn't matter whether it's your first time, your second time, or third time taking the exam. Every single time you have to pay this fee. So if you are not successful in passing your exam, I'll completely pay that $225 exam fee for you. You won't have to worry about it. The only requirements for that are that you're in the program for at least 14 weeks, which you would be because if you join the 4-month study strategy program bundle, that is over 14 weeks. If you're writing in less than 14 weeks, the pass guarantee doesn't apply. And the other requirement is that you cannot fall more than 7 days behind schedule. So like I showed you that calendar before, as long as you are not more than 7 days behind, then you won't lose the pass guarantee and you'll qualify for that guarantee. So if by chance you take your exam, you fail it, you won't have to worry about paying that again at all. That will be covered by me. So let's just quickly go through the value of each of these because it's a little hard to understand how much you're getting out of each of these things. So the personalized study schedule is actually about $67. I've created some of those for people. A $67 study schedule doesn't include any adjustments or anything like that. It's pretty much just a set schedule. So if you fall behind, there's no adjustments. It's not adjusted for how well you're performing or anything like that. That's all stuff my team will actually do for you in the study program. But if someone just purchases a study schedule on its own, that's not included. So you'll also get the Q&A forum. So I used to sell those for $40 a month. So 4 months of Q&A forum access is about $160. Now, personal guidance and advice is really hard to quantify because there's no other program like this for Society of Actuaries or SOA exams. This is the only one, so it's hard to quantify. I just usually go back to thinking about a personal trainer, like a fitness personal trainer. So you wouldn't want to just hire anyone off the street to help you improve your personal fitness or anything. What you'd want is someone with education. You'd want someone with experience. You'd want someone with proven results and stuff. So that when you have someone like that has all that information, you obviously have to pay for that because it's so much knowledge built up over so much time. But when you get access to that person, it's just so amazing because you can ask them anything. They're there for you. Whatever you need to know along the way, you've got someone to ask, and it just takes off so much pressure from yourself. You don't have to spend hours looking up on the internet what you should do and what you shouldn't do. So it's very similar to a personal trainer. Plus you get those check-ins twice per week to keep you on track. So a personal fitness trainer is about $50 per session. Most people go 2 times per week, so it's about $100 per week. So that's about $1,600 of value right in there by joining for 4 months in the study strategy program. The WhatsApp group, it's impossible to say how much that is worth because it's like priceless. Having that community of other people going through this exact same thing as you are, and there to support you, motivate you, help you when you need it, it's priceless. So I just put some question marks there. And lastly, the $225 pass guarantee, we'll say that's worth $225. Okay, so all that combined together is $2,052. But I'm not going to charge anyone over $2,000 to join the study strategy program for 4 months. I want to make it affordable for you guys. So right now, for only members that are registered for this webinar right now, there are 10 spots available at $299, which means you're actually saving over $40 off of my regular study strategy program pricing. So I'm going to put a link in the chat right now about how you can get that. So really quickly, I meant to do this before, but $299 divided by 2052. Okay, so this is about 15%. This is exactly 15%. $299 is 15% of 2,052. That means you're getting all this value at only about 15% of the cost that it's actually worth. So it's a really awesome deal. There are 10 spots available, and I will leave this pricing up until the end of the day Monday, so you'll have to get in before then. Okay, let me put that link in the chat for you guys. Okay. Where is the link? Okay, here it is. Sorry. Chat. Okay, there. It's in the chat area now. So you're saving about $40, 12% off of regular pricing, and there are only 10 spots available right for this training. I will be sending out an email tomorrow with this information for everyone that registered. Of course, not everyone that registered for it can make it, so it's best if you do want to join, you join today so that you make sure you get your spot, because they might sell out when I put them in the email tomorrow. And that email will also be going to you guys, of course. It'll have a replay and everything, but just know that these spots may not all be available, or maybe none will be available by the time tomorrow's email comes around. Okay, so if you have any questions at all about the study strategy program, make sure you ask them now. Like, I'm here, I'm available to answer any questions. If you're having any concerns, you're not sure whether it's right for you or anything like that, please don't hesitate to ask. There's no harm in asking at all. So I'd love to make sure that you have all the details you need to feel confident that you're investing in yourself in the way that you want to. Okay, I will take some more questions now. I'm going to be answering all questions you have about the study strategy program, so don't worry about that. Deepak, I will answer your question, don't worry. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start answering some questions here that you guys had earlier that weren't exactly related to what we were talking about, but I think they will help everyone overall. And yes, in just a couple minutes, I will hand out those templates for you guys too. I'm just going to answer a couple more questions here quickly. Okay, so Hannah asked, do I still have to take the exams if I took the university course that covers the exam and receive the minimum grade? Hannah, a lot of the time, I believe the exams, so if you're in Canada, you can get some exemptions for actuarial exams if you take certain classes at certain universities and get a good enough grade. If you're not in Canada, then that won't apply for you. So Hannah, if you are in Canada, then if you receive the minimum grade and that course counts as credit for the exam, then you won't actually have to take the exam. But I believe most of the exams require more than one course for you to get a minimum grade in more than one course. So I'm not 100% sure if I'm answering your question as you anticipated here. If you take a course in school that is geared toward one of the exams, then it's very good for you to have that knowledge and everything, but I still recommend going through the regular study process for an exam, because typically an exam, it teaches you the stuff you need to know, but it doesn't prepare you, it doesn't teach you how to fully prepare for the exam. Okay, next is, can I get any math internship as a high school student? Yes, I believe there are lots of internships that are available for high school students. So check around, apply to anything that you find, even if you don't exactly meet the recommendations or the requirements. Sometimes they're willing to be a bit flexible, so you can definitely do that even as a high school student. What's the latest date for pass guarantee for July exam FM? There's always a pass guarantee cutoff date for the study strategy program. So in order to qualify for the pass guarantee for July, let me look that up quickly for you. July. Okay, so if you want to qualify for the pass guarantee for July Exampie, then you'd have to join the study strategy program by April 7th at the very latest. However, this bundle, the 4-month bundle, it might not be available at that time. Like, I don't know when I'm going to be offering this exactly again. So you can purchase the 4-month bundle now and then wait and use it later if you'd like to. Okay. There's a few more questions here. For those of you that are waiting for the templates, I'll put those in the chat right now. And then I'll keep answering a few more questions. Okay, so templates. So these templates, they're actually going to, there's one that's similar to what I showed you when I was showing you what you get in the study strategy program, the 168-hour schedule. And you'll also get a calendar that goes from February until 6 months from now so that you can plan out exactly what tasks you're going to do every single day. Okay, those are in the chat now. Okay, Travis asks, what math topics are used most in the actuarial field? Series, probabilities, integrals, differentiation. So it's a little odd because Exampie and FM, they focus a lot on integration and differentiation and series and things like that, but you don't really use that at all when you're working in an actuarial position. So those concepts are important to understand and have knowledge of, and they're important for the exams. But once you kind of get that understanding once you have that background information and stuff, you don't really need it again when you're working. Probability is used a lot in an actuarial world. You need to calculate probabilities of things happening, and you need to apply that to other certain factors to figure out premiums, to figure out reserve calculations, and so much more. So probabilities are important in actuarial work, but you won't really have to do integration and stuff to find those probabilities in an actuarial position. And he also asked, what topics should you have mastered when you starting your studying? So I generally recommend that you have covered calculus, like all calculus, series, integration, and differentiation are the really important things that you want to make sure you've covered before you start studying, because Exampie and FM require quite a bit of calculus, especially Exampie. So you want to make sure you have that background knowledge before you go into your studying. That question is old. Okay. I didn't mean that in a bad way, just I've already answered it. Okay, Deepak asks, I have been studying for the same paper since October or so, and now it's like I get bored. That's completely understandable. I am solving questions. I'm in the solving questions phase now and don't really feel like solving more questions anymore. Okay, Deepak, I completely understand. Sometimes it's, depending on when your exam is, it's really good just to give yourself a break. So maybe for you, you just have to take a week off of studying if you have the time to do that. It sounds like you are probably understanding questions fairly well since you're starting to get a bit bored. So you may just want to give yourself a little bit of a break, some time to refresh, to do the things that you've been wanting to do. And then when you come back to studying in a week, you won't really forget much at all after just 1 week. And then you'll really feel kind of rejuvenated, and you'll feel like it's okay. You won't feel like you don't want to study anymore. It sounds like you've been spending a lot of time studying, and you might be feeling a bit worn out. So just taking a break can really help with that. Leah says, I'm taking a theory of interest course for exam FM. It ends in May. Should I make my study schedule to match the pace of the class or faster? so I get through the content with enough time to practice and review for the exam. So if you're planning to take exam FM in June, for example, then you're definitely going to want to go at a faster pace, because if you just finish going through all the material in May, then that's not going to give you enough time to be fully prepared for June. If you're planning to take exam FM in the next sitting, which would be August, August is pretty far away. Like if you really want to get through the exams, I wouldn't recommend waiting to August unless you have to. But if you are planning to take it in August, then you'd probably be okay with keeping the pace of the course that you're in. It's really a personal decision to, like, are you able to go at a faster pace than the course? If you are, then why not? You should definitely do that so that you can pass these exams as quickly as possible. HP asks if I'll be sharing information via email. Yes, I'll be sending out the replay tomorrow. And one more question I see here. If you have any more at all, please let me know. I'm happy to answer your questions. Anything you have about the study strategy program, studying for your exams, becoming an actuary, and just time management in general, please let me know. There's only one question left, so after that, I'm going to end this and we can go enjoy the rest of our Saturday. Okay, so Lydia asks, do we need to know the gamma distribution for Exampie? I don't want to tell you the wrong answer. I'm pretty sure you do, but you should go check the syllabus for Exampie and see if that distribution is on there. If it's not, then it's probably safe to skip over that. Also, a good judgment of that would be to see whether it's coming up often in practice problems. If you see it quite often, then it's probably important to know. If you don't really see it very often, then either like it's not important, it's probably not important. And sometimes old questions that are no longer relevant to the syllabus still sneak their way into the current practice problems. So if you're not seeing it very often, it's probably not very important for you to know, is my answer, but still go check the syllabus and see. Okay, one more came in here. What if we don't get into the traditional lines of business, for example, life and non-life, and pursue a career in risk management, data science, or banking fields while giving papers or writing exams? What are your views on this? Will a person face issues in clearing papers at a higher level? So generally, no, I think those other types of careers and positions that you've talked about are really good towards an actuarial career. But if you want to eventually end up as an actuary in an actuarial position, then you don't want to spend too much time in those. You want to constantly be trying to get an actuarial position and just use those other positions as a stepping stone to gain more and more experience that actuarial employers are going to like. So it may make it a little bit more difficult for you to pass the really high level exams, like the FSA level exams. But for the first few exams, like the first 7, I don't think it would have any impact on whether or not you are able to pass those. And financially, will there be a difference? Honestly, I'm not sure of whether there is much difference between pursuing non-traditional types of positions versus traditional. I just don't have much knowledge of that. So sorry I couldn't answer that question better, Deepak. Okay, that's all the questions for today. Thank you so much all for joining the training. I'm so sorry that I had to delay it from Thursday, but I think it would have gone not nearly as well on Thursday because I was feeling pretty sick. So thanks for showing up. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I hope to see you in the study strategy program. Bye.